Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Saturday afternoon, Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, land what I think is a very intriguing commitment in the 2026 class as three-star wide receiver Brady Marchese committing to the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, I was kind of surprised, hopping on the message boards, looking at how the Georgia fans were reacting to this commitment. There were some Georgia fans discussing if this kid should have been a take this early on in the process. Respectfully would disagree with that. I think there's a lot of reasons to take a guy like Brady this early on, and it starts with, hey, this is a well put together kid at 6'1", 190 pounds that runs a 4.4 in the 40-yard dash, a legit 4.42. You turn on the film, you certainly see the speed. This kid is a really, really big kid that can run really, really fast. You want to stack these kids on your program. You can't teach speed and size. And Brady Marchese has both. And then I think secondly, and I know this, maybe it'll sound a little bit corny, but it's something that I'm starting to really buy into in terms of how we've seen football, college football, that is, change over the last couple of years. Getting kids that have grown up rooting for this program, that know what it looks like to compete for this program, that really bleed for this program. I think it matters. College football, especially on the recruiting trail, has become so transactional. When you get a chance to add a kid like Brady who, grew up dreaming to play for this program, you want to get those kids on your roster anytime you can. And I think Brady Marchese checks that box as well. Want to get a little bit into the film. I think a really intriguing kid that I'm kind of interested to see how he moves in the rankings over the next couple of weeks and months. Before we get into it, as always, to Georgia fans, appreciate you guys in it. It's about to get real, right? Spring practice kicking off. Obviously, Georgia picking up some momentum on the recruiting trail. We got to talk about Jerry Curtis at the end of this as well. Going to be really fun talking this program. The Georgia fans who've consistently shown love to the boys in the months of February and March as we talk this team on the recruiting trail. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. I want to start with this. I'm a fan of what Georgia has done in the pass catch room over the last couple of months, where you make no mistake about it, right? Georgia recruiting difference makers as pass catchers. It hasn't been as good as I think a lot of Georgia fans wanted to see. And you kind of saw that in the 2024 year. Go back to last year's class, the freshmen coming into this program, guys like Tylen Taylor, guys like CJ Wiley, Landon Roldan, or Alice Williams at tight end. There's a lot of talent that's getting injected into this pass catcher room, where I look at it and say, yeah, it was a weakness for Georgia in 2024. It might not be a weakness anymore for Georgia going into the next couple of years. Now you get into Brady Marchese, and what I like the most is you can tell he's a really big kid that can run really fast. But not only that, he can use his speed in a lot of different ways. You'll see him just run right by defensive backs vertically. A guy that can be a presence in that deeper third. But he's also a guy that, hey, you give him a quick bubble screen, you get him the football in space because of the size, speed, and the movement skills that this kid has. He can be a force after the catch as well. It's not going to be hard to get this kid involved in this Georgia offense. And I think lastly, he's a pretty natural pass catcher, which is not all that common when you're talking about legit speedsters. Brady Marchese has a legitimate straight line speed. Normally, when you're talking about guys with legitimate straight line speed, big time track and field backgrounds, kind of a guy like Arian Smith, they struggle catching the football. I don't think you're going to have that problem with a guy like Brady Marchese, and you get into it, and there's a lot to like in terms of what you see on the film. I think it starts with just what he can do after the catch and what he can do as a smooth mover. It's not only in a straight line. In fact, I think straight line speed is one of the most overblown things we talk about when it comes to wide receivers. Look, Lad McConkey, and he ran that 40-yard dash pretty damn fast. He had a lot of straight line speed, but that's not really why he was an elite wide receiver for Georgia. Still not why he's an elite wide receiver at the NFL level. You have to couple speed with really good movement skills, and you see that from a guy like Brady. Again, in and out, really smooth. If you take a bad angle, clearly the fastest football player on the team, a legitimate threat in terms of yards after the catch, but really snappy route runner as well. I mean, he's a guy that can create separation and work the middle of the field quite well. I mean, this is clean. This is really clean from him playing that boundary spot. Natural pass catcher on the run. Ain't nobody catching him from behind, taking that one to the house. You couple that long speed with the movement skills he has, not only after the catch, but creating separation in his route tree. That's what you're looking for from your wide receivers. And I think Brady Marchese kind of checks a lot of the boxes. Again, vertical. If you don't want to respect what he can do, you don't want to put a safety over top of him, he will run right by you. Tracks the ball relatively well, too. Maybe the term I would use for a guy like Brady Marchese is, hey, this kid's a box checking wide receiver, which again I think is important. Again, nice little route here again. I like what you see from a route running standpoint, kind of putting the safety in a little bit of a blender, natural pass catcher over the middle of the field, competitive after the catch. A lot of times we see wide receivers and they come out with, kind of one trick pony guys. They might just be really, really big and can thrive in contested catch situations. They might just be really, really fast and only use their speed to win. I look at Brady Marchese and say he checks a lot of boxes that you want to see. He's an all-around solid wide receiver, and you look at, all right, well, who are the wide receivers that are having success not only in college, but in the NFL as well? It's guys that can do a lot of things at a high level, the box checking wide receivers. I think Brady is one of those guys. You look at Georgia in the 2026 class. As usual, starting out pretty well. You're going to see Georgia turn it up in the spring and summer months. What I want to talk about is the quarterback and the weapons that Georgia's trying to put together in 2026. Now, it starts with Jerry Curtis, who I believe is on campus or was just on campus for Georgia. That's coming down to Oregon and Georgia. We're going to see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks. And this is another reason kind of why I like this commitment now. At any momentum that you can build for Georgia as Jerry Curtis goes into decision mode certainly doesn't hurt your chances of landing a guy like Jerry Curtis. Big fan of this kid. 6'4", 225, really solid athlete that can be competitive outside the pocket. He's not going to absolutely torch defenses with his legs, but he is a very serviceable athlete when it comes to being creative and throwing off platform. Howitzer of an arm. I mean, there is not a blade of grass that Jared Curtis cannot access with that arm. And what I love most about Jared Curtis, he's getting better as a quarterback. And he's not one of those quarterbacks that, stands out as a freshman and sophomore and kind of fades away junior, senior year, which you see a lot with quarterbacks who are early developers. Jared Curtis, a guy that was around a 50% completion percentage during his sophomore year. That completion percentage jumps up to 70%, 30-plus touchdowns, I believe only 4 interceptions. It's what you're looking for in terms of development. It's what you're looking for in terms of quarterback stock going up. You land Jerry Curtis, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to land some of the best pass catchers in this class. And I will go to a must-get for Georgia, in-state kid, Caden Prothro. He's going to be, wherever he plays, he's going to be elite. I think there's a chance that he just stays out as a boundary X wide receiver, and he'd be damn good at it. He could also put on 30 pounds, get up to around 6'6", 240, and be just a difference maker, matchup nightmare tight end. This is one of the more impressive, big-bodied pass catchers that I've seen come on a little bit because, one, he's a really big kid, and there's not a lot of defensive backs that can match that size, but then the movement skills, and it's not only in a straight line, he's a really fluid mover as a route runner, tracks the ball well. I think there's a really good chance he just stays outside and plays wide receiver. We'll kind of see what the body looks like as he goes into his senior year. This, to me, if you're Georgia and you're saying, hey, we want to get more difference makers catching the football, this is a guy that will be that dude. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.